there, I'm Neat,
I'm Rocks.
and this is the Bourbon Barrel. And today we are going to share with you a very special thing. We've never done anything like this before. Well, it's true we have drank bourbons before. We've never drank them in this style. We are going to be
It's
drinking
true.
with the master blender, head blender, as it were, of Doc Swinson. He is going to be joining us via Zoom call, and we're going to talk to him, interview him a little bit, and let him decide what order we're going to drink, and he'll probably, be very helpful in telling us, things that he does to these, and maybe a little backstory about him and how he got to where he is.
It's a pretty cool story.
Yeah, he's a really, really cool dude, really chill guy, and we can't wait to interview him. So, shall we get into it?
Absolutely.
All right,
We'll
here we
see you
go.
in a couple seconds.
Viewers, this is Jesse. He is the
Parker.
Yep, yes, Jesse Parker.
There you go. I remember something. You always have to remember things. I'm not, I forget everything.
The head blender at Doc Swinson, and he was more than gracious to give us some of his time and drink with us. So very cool, very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're excited about it as well.
On air, thank you so much for doing this, man.
we
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
It's
Oh,
huge.
this is cool. This is really cool.
Yeah. So we got glasses, and we have different varieties of glass to
Yep.
put your products in, and we have if there's any form or anything you want to do as far as putting them in order, we can
Sure,
go whichever
absolutely.
you prefer.
Well, the funny thing is, that picture you sent me by text
Mhm.
message was perfect of the lineup because one, I know what to pull off of our library shelves, and two,
Nice.
this doesn't always happen. But I happen to have, I'm pretty sure it's the exact same single barrel as the one you have sitting there. So
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
Fourth one,
I might
really.
actually get to try it. So it's the 210577.
The 210577. Yeah, that's
Yes.
awesome. Very
Good, good. I was actually able to find it. Like I said, we moved office buildings, and I have a whole new whiskey library going on, so everything's a little bit all over the place at the moment.
Very cool.
It was a good
Do
move.
you personally have a big collection of whiskeys and bourbons?
Me personally?
Yes.
Sort of. I keep them all here because I basically live here. So as we find neat products all over, I'll pick them up, or sometimes the coworkers will, and especially my sales guy Steve, he's wonderful. He'll be like, Jesse, I think you got to try this. It'll be in a market that's not available in Washington, for example, and he'll bring back bottles for me, and we just have this. It's a whole room dedicated just to mostly whiskey, some other things too, but mostly whiskeys. So yes, and then me personally, I do keep a few neat bottles that are really hard to find at my house. Yeah, and those just get buried in the closet most of the time until one day.
As do we, probably on a smaller scale, but yeah.
Yeah. My clutter's here at work.
That's the way to do it.
Looks like awesome work.
But no, that's super excellent.
Right. Oh, the whole thing is super. I'm not gonna stop smiling.
I mean, that's pretty much like you get to try out different things and see how they met. Like that's your job, so that's kind of right. So
and among other things, that's absolutely my job. And it's kind of the neat thing about Doc Swinson's is we really set out to make a name in finished whiskeys and bring that category into light as something that's really positive. And we have a couple principles that stack behind that. And one of them is we believe we never overfinish our whiskeys, because in the end, they're still supposed to be whiskey. It's still supposed to be bourbon. It's still supposed to be rye. And we want that still to be the foundation. But when I'm producing a new product or developing a new product, the goal is to find those points at which the whiskey still really is emphasized. And then the finishing cask is actually layering in flavors or certain nuances that'll help bring either balance to it, whether it be body or sweetness, or might add a little bit of extra fruit characteristic or spices. That's kind of our take on it. So we still want the whiskey to be first and foremost, which we think is not as common in the finished whiskey world. So it still tastes like whiskey.
Correct. Yes. Like I think we've only come across a couple that are finished in other things like Angel's Envy and
I feel like we tasted some that we hadn't reviewed on the show,
right?
Probably, but only
I think it was there was a rabbit
Angel's Envy,
Derringer.
Yeah.
One of those Bowmans, one of the Isaac or Bowman brothers,
So,
one of them's finishing port.
But yeah, those are basically our foyer into the finished whiskeys and things like that. But Last night I did, just so I wasn't a complete and utter noob, try them with my dad.
Oh, very cool.
And they are actually really tasty.
Oh,
So there's
excellent.
pressure on me. It's already good.
Like,
Hey, honest feedback is really all I care about, because in the end, it's, I'm sitting here at this desk and putting all these different flavor profiles together. I know what I'm kind of after and what I'm looking for, and that changes or develops over time, of course. That's why we put batch numbers on them. But ultimately, you don't know what that's like until it gets in the market and other people are tasting and reporting on it. And sometimes it takes, months, sometimes upwards of a year to start getting enough feedback to be like, oh, okay, this is actually stuff that people really enjoy. Or maybe we won't do that round again, which so far we haven't had one of those yet, but you never know.
You definitely won a lot of awards we've seen.
yeah,
So.
and have been for years.
Yes, yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I guess I'll toot my own horn for a quick second here. The first award I won was the New York International Spirits competition for gin when I was 21. So I started out at a young age doing that, and I used to run a whole distillery that was all fruit based, a lot of brandies, which we converted into gins and stuff like that as well. And then as I got a little bit older, into my mid 20s, I was confronted by a unique group of people to start this. We're mostly private label work, and then we also do this, which is the fun stuff. This is the stuff we really love to do. This is where our passion really lies. So that's where
awesome
the fruition of Doc Swinson's came from.
Very cool. And we did actually, in our due diligence, look up what Doc Swinson, like who he was. Is that like kind of
Yeah.
What did you find?
basically the first doctor in Seattle, like
Merchant Prince, the first merchant prince of Seattle.
basically a jack of all trades kind of thing.
I remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah, doctor, second
lawyer, helped name Seattle.
merchant prince.
all
Yeah,
that
after
stuff.
the Native American chief Seattle.
There's a lot of stuff about that guy.
Yeah, which I didn't know that. Did you know that?
I had no idea.
Learn something new every day, man.
I have to admit, I think you're one of the first group of people that have ever looked up where Doc Swinson comes from. Maybe there's one or two other people in the past, but nobody's ever done that due diligence, I will admit. And to be honest, as much as our product is loosely related to this character in history, who did a lot of positive things for Seattle, but we didn't want it to be the focus of our brand. Right? We wanted the focus of our brand to be the whiskey itself, what we do, the processes and the energy we put behind each and every bottling. And that's where the doctor really comes into play. So it's kind of an ode to the mad scientist in me and in our company as a branded group. And that's why we don't say Doc Swinson's was this character in history, et cetera, et cetera. In the end, Seattle doesn't have too much of a tie to bourbon. So and we were to be totally fair, when we first started the brand, we were just kind of messing around. We were lucky to get a bunch of mostly like 10+ year old MGP barrels actually back in the day, and they used to be kind of a dime a dozen, and which is a funny statement to say now because they're nearly impossible to find. And that's why everything's gone through the roof in price.
It's true. Like it's harder. Like I remember in college, it was easy enough to find any bottle I wanted of any bourbon that I could find. And anymore, it's like
This is the first thing you ever bought was Eagle Rare. It was just there.
It was just all now we can't find, Eagle Rare on the shelf, Booker's on the shelf. There's lots of things we can't find like at all in our area.
You gotta get on the list.
Absolutely.
It's all lists.
Yeah.
It's might even be drier out this direction. I'm not entirely sure what area you're exactly in New York, right?
Yeah, we're around the upstate area, around like about half-hour drive from Ithaca. So
that's a cool city for the record. That very much reminds me of where I'm living here, Bellingham. It's very similar. Same thing. It's kind of a college town, a little bit funky, a lot of character, a lot of agriculture around it. Spent a little time in Ithaca. I really enjoyed it. So it's a cool spot.
It's a very distinctive town for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that. You guys might even have more selection of whiskeys out there. Washington's such a funny state, being all the way on the West Coast, and we're not California. So
yeah, I think the only thing we've had from Washington is Woodinville.
Yeah,
so
Woodinville's always.
Yeah, but I haven't heard about much else out there. But no, I was very excited to find your products all the way in New York, other coasts. So very cool.
Yeah, I think it was like fourth or fifth state or something we put Doc Swinson's was New York. In fact, some of the idea behind our distribution is we actually didn't come to Washington until like quite a bit later, to be honest. Even though we're based out of here, we shipped to other states because we figured we wanted feedback, honest feedback from consumers that are more interested in whiskeys. It's just not as big of a culture here. So instead of getting all the, you did great job here in Washington, and then sending it, building everything and sending it all out to Texas and Kentucky right. and Arkansas, Tennessee, et cetera. And then being like, well, this isn't great bourbon. And then we'd be like, oh no. So we went further, and now we're kind of coming back home here. In fact, we're just starting to get into more locations here in Washington, which is nice because a lot of people started asking us, why can't we get it? We couldn't even buy it. That's the funny part. So wow, we're back at it. So I'm glad to see when I saw that bottle, it said New York exclusive on the front of that single barrel. That was pretty awesome. So my hat's off to them for giving some trust to us.
Yes, the only store around us is that we could find any of them in is actually our favorite store because it has the most selection, and we plan on actually talking to him at some point here soon too. So that'd be cool.
Very cool.
He's
very
already
cool.
okayed us to do an episode in his store.
Yeah,
and it's the best one. It's the only one that has yours.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
If I'm out that way, I'll have to come check it out actually. So I actually love that part of the world. So
we're over here.
Absolutely.
If ever you're here, just let us know. We'll be
absolutely.
Vice versa, I can tell you that.
Yeah. So where would you like to start?
Yeah, I think why don't we save the single barrel for last, just because that's truly unique and special, because it's only one of kind and there's only a few hundred bottles involved in that. But I'd like to start you off with the triple cask. So it's the one with the purple label. Yep. And I've got the bottles right here as well. Pardon?
Or what do you normally use as a sipper? Glencairn?
Glencairn, yeah, it's just easy. You get the right air. It's constructed in a way that it allows the aromatics to build a little bit, but also be projected into your olfactory system nicely.
We've enjoyed these and the New Orleans glasses with the little fins and whatnot, because I don't know, I feel like I get a decent aroma out of this.
Absolutely. So, I mean, to each their own. It doesn't really matter to me. These are just the glasses I have.
We were just trying to figure out what you were going with so we could, mimic it.
Yes, absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that work right. All right,
somewhere.
There you go.
There it is.
Nice.
Found it.
So yeah, this is the Doc Swinson's Alter Ego series. So this is where we really like to play with blending and some really funky aging techniques on it. And it usually incorporates a minimum of 2 different mash bills. So this one in particular has both MGPs. One of them is their 36% rye based bourbon, and the other one's their 21% rye based bourbon. So both high rye bourbon, so there's quite a lot of spicy characteristics in there as well.
Is the corn over 50? I know it's over 50, but is the corn more? Is it higher than 50?
Yeah, correct. Yes.
I apologize.
Yeah, in one of them it's in the 36%, it's 60% corn, and the other one, I believe, I always forget this off the top of my head, it's 73? No, sorry, 75%. Apologies. Corn.
I don't apologize to us for anything.
I do everything based on the odd grain, so sometimes I forget the common grain percentage.
Good.
So we blend those two together based on kind of a percentage that we feel is really good. It's going to have the most flavor that we're looking for. It's going to be well balanced, and it'll also bode well in a finishing cast. Not all bourbons do very well in finishing casts. Sometimes they can go wildly wrong.
Huge favorites of some of them we've tried. Yeah.
What's that?
We haven't been huge favorites of a couple of the finished ones we've tried.
Yeah, like I said, my biggest fear is that people will steer away from finished casks because they've tried some that just weren't well done. And there's a couple of us out there that I think really do a good job of doing nice finished casks. Whether it's more finished than ours or less is a different story, but they're still inviting regardless. And that's really the goal we want to show people.
I also feel like we don't see any other ones on any stores shelves locally that have been finished in more than one of anything else. It's always like port or sherry or not two or never other casks. Yeah, no ands. Yeah,
certainly.
So that's makes yours unique in and of itself right off the bat.
It's funny because the name triple cask, which is pretty akin to the fact the label says cognac and sherry casks. Well, it's one aged in more than 3 casks technically. One being the original bourbon cask, right? The American White Oak New Char number 4s. They're aged for a minimum of 5 years in there. And then we take those, blend them together, of course, the 2 mash bills, and then finish them in ex Cognac, ex Oloroso sherry, and ex Pedro Jimenez sherry. So it's 3 different products that it's finished in, all individually. And
Very
those
cool.
barrels are really neat. I'm pretty selective about them as often as I can. They're all large format, so they're upwards of 2 to 3 times the size of one of these barrels.
Oh man!
They're
Wow.
quite large. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're all they're called punch-ons and butts, of all things.
Nice. I love a good butt.
Yeah.
I know, right? Who doesn't? That's the sherry industry. They call them butts. They're quite large, and most of them had product in them over 20 years, sometimes up towards 40. Especially the Pedro Jimenez and Olorosos came from old Solera systems. So those just keep getting cycled through with more and more sherry and pulled from. So they never really get they never get emptied until they end up in my hands.
And then they're not empty for long.
Right.
No.
That's cool.
It's awesome.
And then you
Excellent.
blend those 3 together, and they're not equally blended together. They have a varying percentage. There's a rough sweet spot I usually try and stick to, but it varies a little bit from batch to batch.
Age them
depending
the
on
same
what
amount of
comes up.
time in each one of those casks?
Say that again.
Do you age them at the? Yeah. Sorry, I'm looking. Yeah, it's up here.
I gotcha.
He just got this. This is like the 2nd episode that it's here and not down here. So my apologies.
I just got
do
new
you-
speakers, so it sounds different to me too. So
Oh, okay. Do you age in those 3 casks? Do you age at the same amount of time in each one?
it varies. So to make this really simple, in a nutshell, yes, they're all aged approximately 45 to 60 days. But
Okay.
I don't pull them all because they're just sitting at an age point. So there are some casks I say, oh, this one's not quite ready enough. I really do taste every single one of my casks before I compile a blend. And it takes me about a week or so to go back and forth on the flavor profiles I'm looking for. And then I'll do benchtop models and I'll say, okay, this is a good direction. Let's pull these casks, batch it together, and then bottle it. So if I classify a barrel as not quite ready, or I want to relook at it at another point in time, it may age for several months. In fact, some of could be aged upwards of 9 months. And then in addition, I have what are called boisé casks, which is a term taken from the cognac industry, where you have some casks that have older product in them. And this is, in our case, about 7 years or so old. And these casks have had this whiskey in them for 2-3 years. And I'll pull small portions of those casks to top note the whole batch. So it's actually a really hands-on process. So none of it's after 45 days we dump it. We don't do that. We really stand by that silly little stamp on our bottle that says bottled when ready.
Right.
That's very cool.
Okay, so can I transition to that question?
Yeah, if you must.
It's sort of, if I must, right. It's sort of a joke question, I suppose, but like we're always, if you've watched even one episode, we're always goofing around and like, we're far from professionals. So if my joke question, I suppose, was if you always bottle it when it's ready, if you do have a cask strength, is it just born ready?
Yes, I guess that's a great way to put it. Maybe we should change it. Maybe we should change it on some of our cask strength ones, right? Is it born ready? For the single barrels, that's probably what we should have done. I like it.
Thank you.
If we ever do the label change on that, I'll make sure to put it in there. I'll give you some credit.
Stayed up all night writing that joke.
I did. It was just.
I like it.
I'd say I pulled all my hair out, but I don't have any, so it's it's a lie.
That's epic.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. So what do you have? Well, no. So taste this.
Yeah, I've gotten it's delightful.
I always thought I don't.
We're talking. I you go.
There you go. Fair enough. Jeez, I can old married couple. I'm telling you right now.
Very nice.
Another neat thing about this particular product is once I pick all the barrels to get blended together, we blend them and marry them for a few weeks in ex cognac foeders, and those will fit a Mini Cooper. So they're very large barrels. Yeah.
Wow.
So we go through a marrying process as well. So instead of just dumping them all together and bottling them, which essentially puts them into, I just call it shock, but essentially it goes into shock and the flavors get all of a sudden muted. The aromatics change a little bit. And we want that to mellow out. We want all those compounds to bond together again, the ones that, because there's unique ones that we just introduced to it. And then we'll take that evaluation, slowly proof it down to bottle strength from cask strength, and then bottle it. So it goes through quite a set of processes.
And one of the really cool things that I learned while we were doing our research was that you guys all taste them blind and you do it in varying proofs. And then it's not always like the highest proof wins. It's whatever proof tastes the best. And you have no idea which one that is until you decide which.
And you don't discuss it with each other because of the power of suggestion until you're all ready with an objective point of view.
Yeah.
Right. That's awesome.
I thought that was really unique and cool that you guys like there's different proofs of the same blend and you guys just kind of like it's not about the proof for you, it's about the flavor. And that's very cool, and it actually does show through in the
this is good. I like this. I want more.
Thank you. Yeah. That's really, I'm glad you brought that up. Like I said, y'all did a lot of due diligence. I'm impressed. Makes my job actually easy. We do with most of our products, unless we know we want to release as a cask strength, for example. Generally finished whiskeys tend to taste, we think, the most flavorful actually at a lower proof. And of course the market, a lot of people that really just want high proof, that's what their goal is. So I'd be lying if I said we didn't always pick the lower proof. Sometimes we do pick a little bit higher proof for some of our exploratory casks because we still think it's very good. But in the end, you have water too. So you can always play with that. Don't ever forget, you can always drop some water in it and find the proof that works best for you. But as far as like our what we call kind of our flagship products, which is one of the ones we're drinking right now, the Alter Ego Triple Cask, and the Blender's Cut, the other one there. Those ones, we pick a proof point that we think emphasizes the best flavor quality for the product that we want to showcase.
Cool.
And that's, so we'll have like 30 bottles, little bottles all lined out, and I'll do different proof points on each. We slowly narrow it down to what we ultimately think is the best for this product. And that's where Triple Cask we decided was 95.8. Seems to be our favorite, most flavor proof, and it's a little more approachable than something that's 115, 120. Sure. So
and and last night when I tried it with my dad, he had just a little bit of water and opened it right up and he loved it. It was fantastic for him.
So I think it's delicious for sure. There's no question about that. I definitely got some light fruits at first, like I was smelling light fruit, I thought. I don't know, it was very easy on the palate. There was no burn to it.
Like, for the height of the proof, there's no burn.
Yeah, that was
going down.
That was very tasty. I look forward to more of it in my mouth.
That's a good sign. We like that. Like I said, a lot of this wasn't to overfinish, especially it gets really complicated when you add more than one cask in, like you were saying, right? That's why you don't see a lot of them. For the fact that there's three main finishing casks in here, they can all complement each other, and they can also complicate each other. So my goal here isn't necessarily to get you to say, oh, I definitely taste Pedro Jimenez Sherry, I definitely taste Oloroso, I definitely taste cognac. That wasn't really the intention behind it. The intention was to say, this is bourbon that has these really nice nuanced flavors added to it. For example, the Pedro Jimenez really adds like some nice fruit leather characteristics, as well as it really builds up the body more than just the base bourbon originally had, especially at that lower proof point. So that's really the goal of the blending portion. And this product was actually inspired by Redbreast Irish whiskey. So, which I know some people might be like, I don't know, Irish whiskey is one thing, but I fell in love with it when I was a kid, to be honest. And this has been a product I've always wanted to make. And I've had some people even say, wow, this reminds me of Redbreast Lestau. And that's actually the one I was gunning for to some degree, and be like, I want to make a bourbon that kind of has these funky characteristics that's akin to an Irish whiskey. So
awesome. I like it. It's good.
I bet you do.
I do.
It actually just won the cigar and whiskey magazine competition this year. This particular one.
I just saw that. Yeah, and with good reason.
Yeah.
They keep telling me I need to talk about those things. I'm like, okay. Sales, right?
Yeah, that is what it is.
I think the bottle design is really cool too. It looks kind of like I was telling him, maybe a doctor's office during Prohibition when they were writing medical prescriptions for whiskey. So that's what I thought when I first saw it. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, that's good. That was man. I wish I had the original label near me. I'd show you. It was so small, and it was very much a prescription label that came out of Prohibition. So we tried keeping that through the whole process, and
It's so cool looking.
it's years of reworking this label, and that's my side job, is I do the design for it. So
I was telling him before we started recording everything that even like the Doc Swinson logo itself is very like Red Dead Redemption video game kind of super cool. Like
absolutely,
Yeah, old times. Maybe not with.
no, we're really cool about it. And the other thing is like the bottle itself is, you know, it's straightforward. It's not like trying to do anything fancy or anything like that. Because from what you've told us already, you put the work into the product, not the bottle, which is perfect.
yes. That was the idea. And honestly, this bottle is really great because it fits in anybody's hand and also fits in your back pocket. I don't think that's quite the market we were going for. But when I'm walking between buildings, I like to put bottles in my pockets, and I find myself always using bottles that actually fit in your hand and pocket versus, you know, the really heavy, intense ones that are, you know, decanter like. I know they're gorgeous, but those are, I don't know. They're beasts. I don't want to pour those as often.
Understood.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Have you ever thought of distilling, or is distilling just not the road you want to go down?
Yeah, so that's where I started, right? So I started in distilling. That was running a craft distillery. I've helped a few other craft distilleries develop recipes.
Nice.
It was most of my earlier 20s, and I wouldn't be opposed to distilling whiskeys, but I probably wouldn't want to do it in Washington. Probably want to do it closer to the heartland of whiskey. Honestly, I'm not opposed to moving to Kentucky. You know, if the whole team else wants to move there or somewhere near there. But honestly, it's such a capital intensive thing to do. I couldn't imagine what the cost of this would be as if we made our own versus working with a distillery that already makes really great products, which is wonderful. I mean, that's literally what MGP was set up to do, is make really great whiskeys for other people to use and manipulate or blend with other distilleries' products, which is always something we do work on. Every once in a while, we get barrels from different distilleries out of Kentucky or Tennessee as well. And we sometimes augment or do a special release, things like that. And I'm a blender more than I am a distiller. I'll be the first to tell you that. So I'd rather just work with other people's stuff and say, this is the cool thing that I can make out of it. You know, I'm not the farmer. I didn't butcher the steak, but I seasoned it and cooked it. So
it's the Gordon Ramsay of the steak.
There's no question that's an art form, though. That's an art form. Some of you are great at it, and there are some that just aren't, I guess.
Yes.
We've tasted some things that just are, But again, everybody likes what they like, but
True. Well, you hope so, right? Sometimes it's maybe not what they like until they have to make some money. I don't know, but or maybe just finished whiskeys aren't their thing. I do think that because this is pretty new in the United States, there's not a whole lot of emphasis or focus on blenders in the United States. Everybody talks about distillers, even though there's a good chance they're likely kind of doing that too. And most people that are master distillers, they come up with the recipes and whatnot too. They do development, but usually they don't distill things in the end. It's a big computer program and a couple people watching it, which is great, and they kill it. They make great products. But I think there's a opportunity as a blender to really make a mark on American products that is positive in the market. So
very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So
what do you want to try now?
Yeah. Next up is the blender's cut, I believe.
Yeah, I would do the blender's cut. The neat thing about this is actually the base, the very same base that eventually makes up the triple cask. So
and just doesn't go through one of the processes.
Yeah, just doesn't go through.
So this is just a blend of 2 straight bourbons that are aged at least 5 years. It's the same 21% mash bill and 36% mash bill from MGP. We blend them together based on a proportion that we think emphasizes the most amount of flavor. It's a little bit higher on the 36% rye than the 21. And the neat thing about this one is every one of our brand processes is different. So we blend triple cask a certain way. We blend blender's cut a different way. What we do is, instead of adding water to it, so normally you just take a bunch of barrels, dump them all together, add water to the bottle strength and bottle it. We actually select every single one of our casks based on different proof points and flavors, and then compile a big matrix, and then we submit that for order for the guys to dump all the barrels. So they'll pull all the barrels that we need to make this to hit approximately 115 proof or bottle strength. So we don't add water. If we do, it's like a teeny bit. I mean, I'm talking like enough you could fit in your hands to just put it at the legal label number.
I can't fit any water in my hands. It just comes right off. So
liter of cola.
Maybe whiskey?
You bet.
Just a liter. No.
The idea behind Blender's Cut is it showcases the very beginning of the process before triple cask. So you could taste where we started and where we went to. And then to not influence it any other way except for the barrels themselves. So the age that's on the physical whiskey. That's it.
Very nice. So that's awesome. And I see, so the bottle we got actually came with a little book here with basically what you'd said and your signature, and then a a little cocktail, the Doc's Derby. So
that's we
a lot of grapefruit.
Yes,
it's very cool. I won't give it away so people have to buy it. Yeah,
that's fair. You don't steal the tags. I'm just kidding.
Wow, that's yummy. That's
yeah. So very cool.
Now for viewers, so we're doing what we do sometimes. What are the price points here? Which one, as far as just
So I bought them all very rapidly.
Right.
For this.
Like I said, where we got them, they were $10 difference. 46, 56, 66. I just don't remember.
I don't remember which one was which.
Me neither.
My guess is I would bet this was the least expensive, the Blender's Cut at 55. Like I said, every state's a little bit different. So this is probably your 55 or so. Okay. I imagine your single barrel was the next one, and then triple cask was probably the most expensive. That's usually how it goes, but every state's a little bit different. So
cask is
sometimes our distributors do the single barrels a little more.
Blenders is the cheapest. Single was in the middle. Yeah,
it was in the middle.
Exactly what you said. Exactly what
he's 100% correct. It's like he made the stuff.
No, it's like about this. Jeez.
That's actually probably the only sales question I actually know the answer to some degree, because all the time people are like, where can I find this in my state? I'm like, I don't know if it's even there.
Go on the website.
We have a bottle locator on docswhiskey.com. If you go there, type in your zip code and it will spit out a bunch of options for you.
That is exactly what I did.
It's at our favorite store, so we can get it all the time. So it's awesome. It's awesome.
We also, this is the only other shout out I got to throw down there. We actually started an online store. So for the states or like more remote locations that we don't normally service, you can go on our website, click on the Buy Docs Now, I think, button, and it'll link you to a site that you can actually buy our bottles and they'll ship to you. So if you're in one of the, I think it's like 39 states. Yeah, it should be 39 states. You could get it. And Canada.
That's I think that's probably the best thing that happened because of COVID is that you can ship alcohol pretty much everywhere now.
Yep. That and you can have like a bottle of wine in the park in a lot of places and nobody will question it anymore. And you're like, yes, this is amazing.
Or in your pockets, if they fit just right.
Remember, they fit in the back pocket. Straw not included. Got it.
More fun.
Excellent.
I'm gonna ask him because why not? If I would have made a joke and said, smells like Teen Spirit, do you get that?
You're kidding, right?
Okay, just making sure. I have no scripting. No, I'm that old, like I'm making some Tony reference or something.
No, I know exactly what that reference is.
He started making all these Seattle jokes, and I'm like, I don't know if he's even from Seattle, man.
I'm not from the city. I'm from an island very near it, but yes, of course. In fact, my cousin is Lane Staley, which some of you might know from Alice in Chains. So there's some connection. Not that matters, but I was not even really around. I was like 2. But yes, we've got the scene here. It's still memorable. You still hear it all the time.
Okay.
Did you even taste that one?
Yeah, no, this is great.
Yeah, it is.
There's a little, it like dances on the tongue, but then nothing really burning in the back.
No, it was
Very nice.
yeah,
Smooth.
it was just viscous enough to hold like the
Mhm.
mouthfeel, which we can't ever not make like grin when people say mouthfeel. It's just sorry, but like that one really like coated my mouth, my tongue, everything else, and was smooth going down with just the right amount of warmth. That
Mhm.
yeah, and for what was that 115? Is that what
Yep.
that one was?
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
For 115 proof, it doesn't burn like a normal 115
No,
proof.
no, yeah, definitely.
It's
Like I said, it was.
blended
We
very
wanted you to be, still that's it's whiskey. We want you to be reminded that's what it is, and so a little bit of burn isn't a bad thing, but ultimately we wanted to bolster the flavor profile, and it's not just. I know it sounds like it, but it's not just another MGP product. It is, but it's a blend of two of them, and for some reason people are like, "Wow, this is a different kind of MGP than I've ever tasted," and it's
and
worth a try.
he likes to experiment a lot more than I do. I'm more of the straight up bourbon guy, and I'll drink like
I've made him had some scotches on the show before and stuff. He's not happy when we do it.
but
Oh!
the rye and everything, like the high ryes aren't really my thing. But this is like I'm not tasting like normally when I taste like a bad rye, it tastes almost like straw. But that's not what I'm picking up on this at all.
That's actually, yeah. I mean, that's pretty. Yeah, that's really common in rye. The like horse hay, funky mildewy straw characteristic, especially.
It's not a good name for a blend.
No.
Just so we're get the funky
sure?
characteristic bottle. I think I
Like
that
one that has funky in the name apparently.
funky drummer, right? Is that right?
Yeah, like I said, wow, the due diligence. I'm kind of, oh man,
pointing at you because you're over here and you're.
I got it.
sorry.
No, we should maybe do one of these again sometime, and I'll have to get you some exploratory cask if we ever find it or whatnot. We'll figure something out, because the exploratory cask that we released, there's one I release annually. It's the first one we ever did. I'll probably do it again next November. Is the Mind, Body, and Spirit release, which actually is the 3 casks that go into triple casks just on their own.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, so you can try Blender's Cut. It's not just a sales tactic, I swear. You can try Blender's Cut, and then there's, I don't know, it's kind of hard to see this one, but this is L'Esprit, which is the cognac finish.
Okay.
And then there's the Pedro Jimenez finish and the Oloroso finish, and you could try them all separately at cask strength. And if you were to find all the bottles, you could make your own version of triple cask.
This is my new version of Pokemon.
Wow.
Yes, collect them
You're gonna be
all.
hunting. Yeah, you are. Be like, hey man, where are you? And you'll be like, Louisiana. Like,
no, that's cool. We'll have to start searching for those now too. But yeah, I think when we looked at the map, the Funky Drummer was one that you could buy in New York. We just haven't found where yet. So.
Well, I can tell you one thing: you won't find it yet because I haven't bottled it yet.
Oh, well, that would make sense as to why we can't find it.
That would make sense.
We, like I said, we do stand by that little stamp that says bottled when ready. And Funky Drummer is, I only started with 4 barrels, and it was 6-year-old 95% rye whiskey. So super high, super spicy. That was aged in these Jamaican rum casks, and they were super funky, really high ester Jamaican rum, so really fruity, super fruity. I mean, I'm talking all sorts of tropical fruits. And it was in there for approximately 1 year, and there's different points in time along that year that I thought were really particularly excellent. And then they started getting a little too old, meaning they're really tasty. Honestly, it tastes a little closer to like Angel's Envy now, which is more that like Yankee Candle Co. vanilla spice kind of flavor going on. And that's not really what I wanted to go for. There was times in the past that we thought it was far better for us, for our product. And that was that more fruity rum characteristic. And we lost it. So I redid those batches, meaning I have new ones sitting aside that I'm waiting for to cure. And I'm not sure what I want to do with the original Funky Drummer yet. So it will come out eventually. It's just I held it back. We decided as a group that we didn't want to release it because it wasn't quite as spectacular as we once had it. So one day.
Putting your best foot forward all the time. That's the way to do business. I love it.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, do you have multi-level rick houses, or is it one floor, or how?
It would be nice if it was one floor, then I could like easily taste them all. But no, we're in Washington where everything costs so much per square foot. So everything's vertical.
Okay.
If that door behind me over this direction was open, I'd be able to turn the camera around, but it's not. It's they're 6 barrels high. And that's also where we keep our exploratory casks. We keep all of our finishing casks, as well as we have, which is not one of the bottles there, but our rye whiskey that's finished in rum cask Soleras, which is different than Funky Drummer. We have a whole Solera sitting back there that's 6 barrels high as well, which is pretty cool. And that's all. We move these manifolds around and pull from every single layer, and then cycle them down for every single pull. And that's been a really fun experiment. In fact, that one kills it. That one's, everybody seems to like it. Even people who hate ryes love it. I'm like, you kidding me?
That's
great.
That's a super cool, like super experiment almost. Like that.
Yes.
That's all.
Yeah.
You guys pull from like every different type of like spirit to do what you do, and it shows. It's very cool, like how you guys, like when we were doing our research, I thought that was very unique and very cool, and something that
Thank
I
you.
haven't seen anywhere else, and it's very unique to you folks, and it works.
No, thanks for recognizing. I really appreciate it, because every single one, like I said, kind of is different, right? And it's pulled from different, basically a storybook of different recipes, right? So all these different processes that I've basically studied since I was a teenager. I was really fascinated by this kind of stuff when I was a kid. My parents thought it was kind of funny, and they're like, hey, go for it. We'll get you the books or whatever, we'll help you with this. And every one of these processes, whether it's from the sherry industry, the cognac industry, the Scotch whiskey, rum, etc., have these amazing ideas behind them, and I wanted to apply them to American whiskey because it just hasn't really been done. Like you said, not that many people do it this way, especially multi-cask blending. And I don't blame them for not doing it. It's an insane amount of labor. It's absolutely, most of my team's job is just moving liquid from one barrel to another to another to another, and putting them together, and then deciding, is it good? Maybe to another. It's kind of a lot. And everything's kind of custom made here as far as the equipment and whatnot, because nobody builds stuff for this part of the industry.
It's the Wild West of creation, I guess. So
yeah.
Did you want to ask them about Distiller's Way?
Nope, I didn't.
All right.
But if you want to.
Oh, I don't. We just didn't really understand what Distiller's Way was. It makes it sound like sort of it's a road, maybe, or if it's I don't know, or is it an umbrella over top that owns all of the?
Yeah, so Distiller's Way is our company, and Doc Swinson's is one of our brands. So I think classically it's called we're a house of brands, not a branded house. So if you're a branded house, you generally you have one brand and you just keep going from there. And we make different products. So Doc Swinson's, of course, is like our baby. It's our flagship. It's what we put our hands in the most. But as I said, we also do private label projects for grocery store chains and whatnot as well, which is pretty cool. Nothing in the whiskey world. We keep that to ourselves.
Understandable.
But we're also, for example, been working on tequila for about 3 years now. That's still not in the market yet, and it actually has kind of a tie back to Doc Swinson's, which is neat. So we're aging our tequila in 2 to 3 different types of casks in Mexico, and then we're going to blend those and do limited releases like once a year or so, maybe twice a year. We're still kind of figuring that part out. But our first one will be finished in 3 casks as well, so it'll be a triple cask kind of style. And then it'll be carbon filtered. So it'll be a Cristalino, which I know might sound like terrible to some people who really like brown spirits, but Cristalinos are really beautiful, and you can emphasize certain cask characteristics a lot out of them. And I've always wanted to play with that method, so I figured why not give it a try.
Are a lot of these X casks that you age the bourbon in your own casks from your other spirits, or do you get them the barrels from somewhere else?
So because we don't process anything like cognac or sherry or anything here, we get them from different places. It could come from usually a couple different locations. One of them, I do work with a lot of, for smaller projects where I only have a couple barrels I need, I'll work with barrel brokers or cooperages. Most of the time I work directly with cooperages overseas, and they'll recooper all these different casks from different industries. And then I'll just put in an order like, hey, I want a 20-foot container, 2 of these, 4 of these, 6 of these, 10 of these. They'll compile it together when they're ready. It's kind of funny. I have to hit these certain windows, otherwise we kick it. And until I get fresh ones again. And then we send them, I get them over here, and then I'll assess every single barrel. Sometimes we have to fix them from time to time because they get a little damaged during shipping once in a while. So we've gotten kind of good with our cooperage tools.
That's what happens, right?
That's been fun. I don't know. I grew up working with wood as a kid with my dad, and I have to admit the cooperaging stuff is actually kind of fascinating. I know nothing about coopering. I just know I could fix a few things here and there, mostly fooders. So I've gotten good at fixing fooders, the big ones.
All right, jack of all trades.
Yeah, a lot of hats here. Yeah. It keeps things interesting, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So without further ado, shall we do the New York exclusive?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Hooray for more bourbon.
I don't blame you.
So,
Is it Friday?
Well, so we're supposed to get a wicked snowstorm here, so it could be Friday for us.
yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, I've heard it's been just all those nor'easters are just, it seems like that every year though. Is that wrong of me to say, or?
No, you're not wrong.
Okay.
It's either 8 to 12 inches every other week, or where you are, it's like 9 months of rain, right?
Yeah, right.
Yes, we have that. Although it's been a little weird this year, I have to admit, it's been. We had what they called like the 100 or 200-year flood this year, which was pretty wild.
Yeah.
Where we had some of the streets in town, for example, were 4 or 5 feet underwater. I mean, there was cars floating in them. People were kayaking down some of our streets this year, which was pretty wild. And all the farmlands looked like bays. So it's been an odd year, but it's awfully been kind of like dry and sunny, which doesn't happen here. Let me put it that way. So it's either like intense rain or sunny.
Yeah.
Weather. So
we do get our summers here where it's like we either have -20 or like 110. There's there's like 3 weeks of like good weather.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So we're somewhat related. In fact, I think New York and Washington are the two largest apple producing states in the country. So
there you go.
That is correct.
There's got to be something about different, but kind of the same.
It's all the lake effect snow here, and you guys have that ocean breeze, I guess. So
yeah, that keeps it pretty lukewarm. Actually, we don't. Our temperature doesn't vary a whole lot. I will admit. That's why it just rains all the time.
Yeah, the mutual friend that we have that set all this up actually was telling me she took a walk and it was like 50 degrees. And I'm like, it's -10.
Ooh, gosh. Oh, I know. Yeah. I gotta thank Maggie. She's a wonderful person. So
yes,
this was a really cool connection. Probably the best connection I've had so far. I'm like, what? This is so awesome.
Yeah.
And I got that text message from her saying, I
don't know who she is, but she's awesome.
Ooh, yeah, talk to Maggie.
Doesn't matter.
To Maggie.
Maggie. We couldn't say no, should you? Your bottles are so well written too. They're just fun to read. Like I love everything about the artistic. I'm more of the artistic kind of, and he's more like
I just
political
the episodes.
Yeah, I'm more pie in the sky and stuff, and I love the artwork of it, the story. Even looking up Doc Swinson, I love that stuff.
Well, thanks. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks. Hey, like you said, it makes like a good team. That's why there's two of you doing all that, right? I mean,
I have a huge team here. So yeah.
I mean, I don't personally touch every single thing. I do taste every single barrel, but reality is I have a really great team behind me that makes all this really happen. So
that's very cool.
That's the cool thing.
Do you ever get higher charred barrels, or do you not? You stick to you said number 4 char? Is that what?
Yeah, number 4 is I mean, typically considered just alligator char. So you don't get higher than that. I'm sure you could specify it, but number 4 is pretty much it. I do get every once in a while number 3s as well. They seemed a little bit softer, but number 4s tend to really bring out that nice caramel flavor, vanilla flavor, and
100% agree with that.
Yeah,
because some of my favorite ones are the double oaked and the extra char and that.
We've had some really good double oak stuff.
Yeah, I don't do. I haven't gotten quite. We haven't gotten quite large enough where I can actually specify my char levels yet. We're right on the verge of saying, hey, I'm going to buy all new make. These are the kind of barrels I want to use. So I've been doing a lot of research in which ones I want to kind of feed in there. A couple percent of these, couple percent of those. But that's right. Maybe the next 6 to 8 months. I think we're going to start doing stuff like that.
We saw you made Fred Minnick's top 100 of the year last year of whiskeys or whatever. That's all over Facebook and stuff.
Yeah,
so he's awesome. I love his show.
Yeah, he even took one of our bourbons on, it's like not Good Morning America, Good Morning New York, something like that, as one of his top three
Oh,
for the year, which was kind of cool too.
that's awesome.
So we were really happy with that. He's been a wonderful person to work with. And that's actually really awesome to hear, to be honest. So like you said, sometimes it takes time. It takes 6 to 8 months or so to start getting even feedback, and you're like, people like this, what's going on, turns out people are really liking it. I know Fred Mix really enjoyed the rye finish in the rum cast. That's, I think, had been he consistently seems to bring that one up during a lot of his podcasts and whatnot. So
Very cool.
yeah, we're excited. So yeah, this is the single barrel.
New York exclusive.
Yeah, I've already tasted that, and I just think it got better as I went, and it was all good.
Well, I'm glad we had input from the guy who made them.
I mean,
thanks for having me. Like I said, I really appreciate that.
Oh no, we appreciate it greatly too.
This New York
This is
single
the
barrel
coolest thing we've ever done.
Can I find a bottle of this?
I think there's a couple bottles left at the
All right.
place we got it.
These are very limited, you said, the New York single barrels? Is that correct?
So I mean, one, it's there's only about 200, and so I'm not sure exactly with this barrel, but we max out around 230 bottles a barrel. Sometimes it's less, sometimes a little bit more. This particular barrel will be gone. Yes, it's gone. I'm surprised I even found a bottle, to be honest. But we're gonna start doing single barrels a little bit more commonly, meaning like maybe we'll do a limited release in different parts of the country every quarter or every 6 months. We're still kind of working out those details. So you might not find them consistently by any means, but they will pop out from time to time.
Right.
And New York's a really great. We really like our distributor there. So that was, PM Spirits really killed it.
Excellent. It's warm and it stays warm, but I mean it's not burning. It's
oh no,
I feel happy.
It's a good feeling when you're drinking whiskey. I mean, right? I mean, bringing people together, enjoying a laugh.
Absolutely.
Very cool.
That's the best part, is that everybody likes what they like, and the bourbon snob people can go snob somewhere else. Like,
I recently, it's funny you say that. Kind of like what you're saying, like mouthfeel or whatnot. I mean, yeah, these are all industry terms that we use all the time to describe things. So you have to be kind of indoctrinated to them to some degree. But I actually love and grew up eating marzipan, and everybody hates that word. And I recently got totally shut down by another podcast recently. He was like, we have one rule here. Don't ever say the word marzipan. I was like, oh my gosh. Because I know it sounds really snooty, but if you try it, you'll get it.
Right. I
It's
think
just
the
not a
first
very
time I ever
American
heard,
thing.
the first time I ever heard the word marzipan was on Homestar Runner.
Yes.
It's one of those things.
Oh my gosh, that's the throwback. That is grand.
That was early 2000s. Yeah.
It wasn't on the Flintstones. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh man, it was my childhood, man. It was super good.
Is there any common that what should we be excited about other than what we've already can see, like this new white labels and stuff? Is there something you haven't like sort of told people that might
without giving away trade secrets?
I'm always working on different exploratory casts. That's actually something we're really trying to grow. I mean, even though we started Doc Swinson's back in 2017, we haven't really. It was all really small. We'd only be processing 20, 30, 40, 50 barrels a year. That was it. Until this last year and a half or so, where we've gone to, several hundred barrels in processing and making all these cool whiskeys. So I have a, like a little book that I keep all my notes and thoughts in. And I'm like, okay, what about this cast? What about that cast? And it takes a long time to find them. But with that being said, I finally, yes. Yeah. One of them.
Nice.
Most of it's up here, to be totally honest. Half the time I never write it down. I'm like, oh no, what was it?
Very cool.
No, but with that being said, I have more access to more whiskeys, which means I can find more barrels and allocate it to more neat projects. So we have a pretty good chunk of our whiskey each year that we're going to dedicate towards exploratory casks. So those will fit under the white label that says, well, exploratory cask at the top there. And unfortunately, gold foil never looks good on cameras.
Make it work.
But those ones are those could be limited to a single cask. It might be just a really good tasting old whiskey. It could be something that's finished in 4 different barrels. It could be a blend of several things. It could be whatever we feel like it to be, and it's likely to be limited, meaning I may never do it again. So Funky Drummer, yes, is one that once I figure that one out and I get the next round going, I'll select those casks, sell some Funky Drummer. Nice. I've got things from, without giving them away, I love working with fortified wines. They tend to, I think, mingle with spirits the best usually. So anything fortified, I've got my hands on a few dozen different kinds of barrels, as well as I'm starting now to experiment with different kinds of oak, actually. So not just, classic French or Limousin or American oak or various Eastern European oaks. I've been looking into stuff like South America, actually, which is kind of cool. Nice. I'm kind of stoked about those. Those had some really funky, unique flavors, a lot of funky spices. And then I do have some odd ones, some oddballs out there. I've got a rum finished, a rye whiskey finished in rum casks, and then finished in añejo tequila barrels. And so far, I don't know. I know it's always is like, I don't know, tequila and whiskey. A lot of people think they taste terrible. And to be totally fair, I haven't really had anything that tasted good out of them, except for, I will admit, the barrels I'm doing right now are actually pretty damn tasty. So nice. I will release that one as more of my, well, let's see what the market thinks, because I think they're really nice. Probably the more oddball one is I've had the chance to work with some, I'm still working on getting the name to be able to say the name here, the brand, but I think very peated Scotch.
Understood.
Yeah.
In the world, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it's maybe one of those, but maybe not. I can't say it yet. But
I'm not trying to get you to say it. I'm just saying, but that's nothing against them either or anything like that. Just classic.
No, that's super cool that you have so many different irons in the fire, as far as like you are a legitimate modern day mad scientist with what you're doing, and I absolutely love it. And the products, they speak for themselves. They're delicious. I can't say anything bad about them.
We should get him one of those things from Back to the Future that Doc Brown wore on his head, and he was trying to read somebody's mind, just as a funny thing. Like
that would be.
It was Doc, and then there's Doc. Like,
I love the creativity there. No, that'd be amazing. That'd be actually really cool. And to be totally fair, this is the first time I've had short hair in like 3 years. It was actually long and ridiculous until 3 hours ago. So I looked like a mad scientist. Yeah, I literally just got a cut before this podcast.
Jeez. Oh wow. Yeah.
For you, but it's God did it. It's gone. So there's
I awesome. Basically look like very odd for many years now, and people are like, you got to keep it. It looks good for the image. I'm like, it's in my face all the time. I'm done. It was down to like here. So
understood. I used to have a fro, so I get it. I can't anymore.
Too, you really
can't. But I was that guy at one point in my life.
Yeah, middle school for me, it just went up.
Yep. Yeah, it was all over.
And just by the way, just tell us whenever you need to go or something too, because we might not end it because this is way too.
This is super fun for us.
So if something comes up, we know you have stuff to do and a job and whatnot. So
no, I appreciate that. I gotta say that this company, Doc Swinson Distillers Way, is wonderful. They somehow trust me with a lot of their money and a lot of their whiskey to make all of this and concept it. They're really wonderful people. So yes, at some point in time I will have to leave, but I got some more time, so I've got no problem with that.
We're gonna keep drinking then. That's how that works.
Is there anything in particular like stands out that you like of these 3 that you'd like for different occasions, or you would just drink generally?
Honestly, I feel like your alter ego is probably something that beginner bourbon drinkers would probably like more than the rest of them, because there is a sweetness to it that you don't find in a lot of things, and people who are just entering the game probably want more of that sweet than they do like the subtle hints of things. And this is yeah, that's fine. Whatever. I don't care.
People love sugar. That's for sure.
I need to see your gorgeous face.
Absolutely. It's the most addictive substance in the world, despite what anyone else says.
Yep.
But,
what?
America's only native spirit, right?
To diabetes.
Right.
We love sugar.
Off the rails quick
Oh,
here.
yeah. But no, honestly, the alter ego is probably something that I would give to someone or put on a bar cart that hasn't had a lot of experience in the world with, which is weird because it's not. How do I put this? This isn't like a traditional bourbon because there's so much more to it, and there's so many things going on there. Like
It's like it
it
started as bourbon.
bourbon.
And this is now.
That's not something you see anywhere.
Yeah.
Like that's nuts.
I mean, literally, we've never seen two
Yeah,
different. Like
yeah.
it's just aged in port, or sherry, or
Yes, it's never
Woodinville does a Pedro Jimenez and a port, but I don't think they
they
do
do
two
together. Yeah.
I mean,
Dude,
it's even up there with you guys.
It's absolutely insane that this works so well. Like,
Mhm.
and
Thank you.
I would introduce that to anyone, like hands down. I would introduce that to anyone who's like, I don't like bourbon. I'm like, bullshit.
Try
That's-
this.
There's a lot of people out there that won't even touch bourbon because they're like, it's too fire, it's too this, and I'm like,
Right.
here.
Yeah.
I agree that it's part of it is to capture the minds and the taste buds of people who normally don't like this kind of stuff. That's where I think finishing casts also have a really good chance in getting more people to turn to this side of things. Come on, drink bourbon. Vodka's okay, but let's be honest, guys. Come on, vodka's not that great.
It burns all the way down every time.
I know. It's just paint thinner at this rate.
It's just potatoes on steroids.
Basically.
Get together with the NHL team and make a batch called Release the Kraken.
What? That's never been done.
No, well, the Kraken's only 1 year old, right? They just became a franchise.
They
Jump right in
have-
on that.
I think that's Westland's actually a really great distillery. If you're into you're into Scotch, right? One of you are. Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if you've tried any American single malts.
I don't think so.
Gotcha.
don't
They're
think
a little more common on the West Coast. Maybe I think I don't entirely know if that's a true statement. But there's a couple distilleries here that do an excellent job, and they're actually in Seattle. So if you're ever in the area, I highly recommend checking them out. One of his Copperworks.
Stay at your
the other one
place.
is-
Yeah.
What's that?
We're gonna stay at your place, right? Road trip.
You're welcome. You're welcome to.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's not the most glorious thing. It's got a great view, but I've got a couch.
He said he lives in the distillery or the
And are you questioning what I? Because that's why I said it. Like I knew that he lives there. Like
Yeah, pick your favorite barrel that you know is most comfortable to lay on. You're good. The big ones are really nice for it. Actually, they're kind of like that Homer Simpsons
I'll
episode with
sleep
the
on
trash
concrete
can.
on-
Yeah. Yeah.
It probably be easier for him to come. I've got a wife and 3 kids, so it's gonna be tough. So to sell her on that, I'll be back. It's only cross country, and I'm gonna sleep in a brick house or an office.
Hey, it's cost effective, right?
Yeah,
It'll
absolutely.
cost me a marriage, so that's not. I'm not
Okay,
doing that
maybe
one.
not.
Yeah, right.
Uh,
Excellent. She
Well,
was
if
great. You're
you're-
fun to talk to. You were a lot of fun to shoot the breeze with. So
Hey, equally so. Like I said, it makes my job easy when it's not so stale. And honestly, most of the time, I mean, I'm sitting here blending products or in the back or working over Excel sheets most of the time, or doing emails and whatnot. So podcasting and all this media stuff is actually kind of new to me, which is exciting. So I'm just trying to figure out how to hone in some of that. Every interview is a little bit different. Everybody that does it's a little bit different. Some people just push you and carry the whole thing. Some people let you talk a little more freely. Some of it's like sales, which is a thing too. So it's been fun. It's all within the last couple months. I've been doing a lot of these. So this is great. Especially with my new podcast setup, which is nice. It used to just be a phone all the time. I finally got a computer with a camera.
Web. Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Who would have thought? A millennial. I'm a terrible millennial. I'll tell you that.
Me too.
I'm a whatever it is before millennials. I don't remember what that's called. Old. I don't know. I don't know.
Old? Oh no.
Oh,
Hey, just
my
like
goodness.
whiskey, right? Gets better with age. Is that how that works? I don't know.
Sometimes I
It's
age
better.
like milk. It depends on
I'm like a fine box of wine.
Yeah, I remember you sent out your message, and I was actually like up on the islands. I didn't see your message. I was like, oh no, I feel like a jackass here. I didn't respond because I was like, that's actually a really good statement. No, I enjoyed that joke. That was fun. Like a box of wine. I've had a few of those.
We live right in the middle of Finger Lakes wine country.
Yeah.
You know, all
Gorgeous.
up and down. So
Super nice. In
yeah.
the summertime. Wintertime, it's all covered in snow.
Yeah, but you know, who knows what your future holds? And we're right near. Like, if you with casks, and if you ever come out and stuff, maybe you find stuff out here. You know,
Yeah,
and we could have a
I'd
pour at
like
a
to
bar
ex-
somewhere.
I'd like to explore more of the Finger Lakes. Like I said, it was about 3 years ago when I was up in that area, and I stayed in Ithaca for a couple nights, and I did go to, was it Finger Lakes Distilling? I did end up there at some point in time. But it was like April, so everything was like dead and nobody was around.
All right,
That's about
So
right.
I wouldn't say it was gorgeous for what it was. I'd like to go check it out because it looks so different than here. I think it's like a lot of the houses, the foliage looks so different than here. Everything here is evergreens, right? So it's all like these big old evergreens. Everything's still green here. And then there was all these big, massive, I don't know, I'm assuming they're oaks. I'm not the best at that, but they're stunning.
Yeah, from what I've been told, we're a lot like the out like Germany as far as like with our hills and our trees. Like
Okay,
similar.
okay.
I don't know.
Not
makes
quite
sense.
with all the Nazis and stuff. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Like same kind of like area on the globe.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was actually in Vermont recently and New Hampshire, and during like all the fall. What's that?
Did you go to Whistle Pig?
No, I didn't make it there actually. I was specifically driving to meet a friend, and I only had a couple days, so I made it kind of a quick trip. But on the way, I did happen to go to, was it the, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the name, the Sound of Music. They have a huge like
Yep.
farm
you're talking
resort
about.
thing there.
I can't put my name on it, but
On
I know what you're talking
tracks.
about.
Oh,
Yes,
that was
that's
it.
correct.
And
Well done.
they have a brewery in the woods too, which is actually kind of cool. So I ended up going there on my way over to Vermont to what was it, Lake Champlain, and that's what it said on the plaque in there. They're like, this place reminded us so much of Austria, we moved here. So I was like, oh, okay, I guess so I would agree. It's the rolling hills. It's not, it's like very pretty.
Very
Right. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
absolutely.
We're not gonna sing, but yeah, that's not our thing.
You're not going to sing.
Well, you go right
Get
ahead.
enough of this in me.
I was gonna say, just finish off one of those bottles. I'm sure you'll be singing. No, just kidding.
What?
Very cool.
We're way past that thing, but if you ever came up with a blend and it seemed like something that other people wouldn't think would work, like you mix your bourbon with, I don't even know what, you know what I mean? But some other cask, you were talking about all the exploratory things, but it's something most people would think doesn't work, and then it ends up working, like everything you do apparently. And that's not, and by the way, we're not pandering either. Like if we weren't, we'd be like, listen, it's not our thing, but you know, at least I think we would. I think we would do that.
That'd be sure.
But you should go with blasphemy for the name of the batch. If you can make it work, right?
No, that's actually great.
It is. So
I'm pretty terrible at coming up with the names on the bottles, but so usually it's actually our accountant does a really awesome job of coming with cool names.
And he or she does a great job too, because those are awesome.
Yeah, he does
we're not
well.
looking for anything either, by the way. That's just me. I'm just artsy and I like chatting. I'm not.
I'm totally gonna write it down for the record. I'll put your name next to it because I keep like a notebook of all these things where I'm like, okay, this is a cool word. Do I like it? Would it fit this product? Whatnot? Because we try to give things unique names.
Right.
I named the Mind, Body, and Spirit all in their the cast that they came out of, all in the language that the cast came from, which I realized nobody really knows how to say them. So it's actually really confusing for people. So I'm not the person to do that.
That's awesome though.
It's like it's La Mente, El Cuerpo, and L'Esprit, which nobody.
Yeah, no, we were butchering that.
I remember El Cuerpo because I took like 8 years of Spanish, one of them being from like a Peruvian nun.
Right.
Yep. That's those people get that one. Yeah, L'Esprit. Nobody speaks French. I realized that one. So everybody's like L'Esprit. I'm like,
yep.
So I guess the point being is it's nice to have names that are generally easier. Like blasphemy is a recognizable word.
Right. It'd be blasphemy to put it together, but you made it work. Like,
I mean, that might be the peaty scotches. Nobody seems to do those. That might be
awesome,
who
man.
knows? Maybe I'll blend that with some tawny port finish. I have no idea. I'm still working on those. That could be blasphemous. Maybe it'll be, like I said, the tequila ones. Nobody seems to do tequila cask because nobody seems interested in it, which is almost puzzling to me because I've done bourbon and rye in tequila casks, and they both are quite spectacular in their own way. Once again, not for everybody.
That's super weird to me that not everybody would be into that, because I know that there's like a massive bourbon culture and everything because we're part of that now.
Right.
But I also know that there's like a huge tequila, like people love tequilas and like they like, you gotta try this 10-year tequila. I'm like, what?
Right.
Tequila gets me real frisky. You don't want me drinking that. Like,
yeah, I know. Right. Well, it does have tequila definitely has that connotation behind it. So.
absolutely. But I know that there is actually like a growing culture behind the tequila and all that stuff too. And I mean, you've been doing different spirits your entire life, so you probably know better than most.
I'm learning all the time. I mean, tequila is so fascinating. It's like when I first started getting into learning from the tequileros, the distillers in Mexico, and I've worked with a couple different companies before, or distilleries, and they all have these really interesting techniques. It almost seems more like magic half the time. And I don't know if it's just because they're like, oh, this kid's not going to know shit. So let's. Yeah, exactly. You're not wrong. So that might be part of it. No, I trust the people I work with, and they've taught me a lot of really interesting techniques that aren't seen I've never seen them in any other spirits. Not saying I'm particularly perfectly versed in all of them by any means, but there's some interesting techniques in tequila that I've never seen applied to anything else that I like slowly trying to gear those in or put those into some of the whiskeys here. Because I think it would be neat. That might be just different kind of aging or oxidation techniques. There's a bunch of neat things going on there. But for some reason, tequila has a lot of magic behind it.
Music. Sorry, by the way. There's like a lag, and then I felt like I had a second, and I was talking over you. I apologize. I wasn't trying to do that.
Oh, no worries.
Have you considered doing something with like a bass or whatever? Like they make that blackened whiskey by Metallica, and they put like blasted music next to it or something. Like I'm obviously butchering the process, but you know what I mean? Like, have you ever considered those things?
Back, especially when I was in my early 20s, I was really just like, craft distilling was pretty new, and everybody was trying all sorts of crazy, like how to age things faster. That was such a big fad, 9 years ago, 6 years ago. It was still even a thing from time to time. Like, what, you're still trying that?
Yeah,
I get it. It's a different product, and it can be good. I don't think any of them are very similar to actually what the real age would be on a product. If you were to put them side by side, I don't know. You couldn't convince me. I'm not saying they're not good though. There are some good ones out there.
Right.
I definitely wandered down that path with a few different ideas, but none that I put enough energy into, to be totally honest. And the reality is, it's because the beauty of not distilling our own whiskeys is I do get to buy already aged whiskey if it's available, which is now becoming incredibly difficult to find. So I'm not as worried too much of that. There is quite a bit of research behind different techniques utilizing sound waves or light or I'm trying to think of pressures that will influence the product. Yeah, I mean, in the end, that's what's right. I mean, in the end, that's what's happening in the barrel, right? And this is a big lung, if you think about it, right? As the environment changes in temperature and pressure, the product itself swells, expands and contracts and moves its way in and out of the wood. It also gets micro-oxidation. I can't remember what it is on an American whiskey barrel, but it's something like 70 grams of oxygen or something is added per month on average to a barrel. And don't quote me on that. I'm probably totally wrong on it. It's been a long time since I've thought of that, but there's a lot of ways that you can probably manipulate the product. I just choose to use old techniques of mostly just moving things and putting things in different casks and blending them together and finding the profile that works for me. I'm a bit of a traditionalist when it comes to those kind of things. I don't really like to cut corners, not saying that everybody is. And in fact, the funny thing is, there's always this like connotation that tradition is like the right way. Well, honestly, somebody gave me this book when I was like about 20 years old. And it was a copy of a book, of course, is a reprint from a book that was written in the mid 1700s in France, because spirits started becoming so big, right? Mm-hmm. And people were really into them. They started drinking them more. This is in the 1800s, et cetera. And it was translated into English, of course. So who knows how particularly accurate it is. but it's all these different recipes, and there'll be like 4 recipes all next to each other that all say, whatever, here's orange curacao recipe, and it'll say, here's the high end, here's the mid grade, and here's the dumpy version. And it literally lists it out like that. And you're like, whoa, they put that in there. So people have been cutting corners forever, right? And that's the funny thing. So I don't use those particular types of corners, but in the end, tradition is a funny statement. But I like to say I'm more traditional when it comes to these aging techniques.
I mean, your traditions are working, and I've had Jefferson's Age to See, and I feel like that's kind of just a gimmick.
That's you said it. I was gonna maybe use that word earlier too when it comes to like using like music and whatnot. Right. There is some research backing it. I don't know if it's for the better or worse. It's not really something I'm trying to work towards.
Why should you when you get?
I feel like I have to.
Results. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Definitely don't you what you're doing. And again, not pandering. It's really good.
It is. It's very tasty stuff. Like we've been doing this for a little bit. We have a little bit of experience under our belt. Not a whole lot, but I mean, as far as things we've tasted, these are
and they're really
really good.
And it's not a terrible price point. We're not paying
$300 for a Kentucky Owl.
Yeah. So
great whiskeys. Yes. Yeah. That's another thing. I know this is one thing my salesman would love me to say, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but it's we take good whiskeys, make them into great whiskeys for a really good price or for a fair price. That's it. I think that's kind of what we're trying here. It is expensive because it's aged whiskeys that are finished and goes through so many processes. There's a lot of movement. It all costs money in the end. Right. But we think for similar products on the shelf that are finished, we're in a really great price range for not to scare away people who actually want to try this new style of making whiskeys. Really, it's old styles adapted to American whiskeys, but yeah, we think they're pretty fair.
It's very unique, and no, we're definitely fans. And you have anything else you want to ask him while we have him on the phone?
The phone. See, to me, it's like a rotary dial thing, and we're like, so because I'm just old.
If it makes you feel better, I do know how to use one of those. My grandmother had one on the wall.
Nope.
Open his rigs.
Oh man.
What I said to him, and this is a part we can cut out because this is if it's not like I don't know what all the right ways to say things.
Regulations.
Yeah, you know what. But I said to him, I would love to buy a bottle from you and have it shipped to us and pay all the normal prices for it. And maybe you could sign it for us and we could have it on set. And every time we're on, they would see like our Doc Swinson that's signed by you, Jesse Parker.
That would be really cool. Let me figure out how to do that because we have to do it in a certain way that's like all legal and fun. Because we don't have a tasting room. So if you came to our location, you couldn't taste. I mean, you could be my guest in the back, and then we could pull stuff from barrels. We could do like a pick kind of thing or whatnot, something like that. We'll call it. But we don't have a tasting room.
So now I'm coming. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. See.
I guess it costs me a wife. Whatever. You're gonna
whiskey wife. I mean, they're similar in spelling. Don't go. I'm not married for record, so I don't know. I'm terrible at this.
It's 2 out of 3.
Is could they ask you how old you are?
I'm 30.
Okay.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah. So he's been doing this for a long time, but even though he's very young.
I can't wait to see what the future holds. Because if you're 30 and this is like, I can't wait because it can't go anywhere but up from here, and this is awesome. Like that's really great, man.
Well, I hope it only goes up from here. Otherwise, I don't know. Maybe I should retire. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm excited about that too, to be honest, because like I said, really playing around with all these different finishes, all these different kinds of whiskeys. It's also growing our portfolio of who we can like talk to get more barrels from, and it's really cool. So I've really only been doing this particular part of, at least on a really more commercial level, we're actually producing more consistently every other month or so, or saying we're going to make this many of this much of that, for about a year and a half now, not really even. So not saying I haven't worked on the profiles for years, I have, but I'm excited to see what the future holds as well. I'm actually really, really excited about it. So that'll be good. But we will have to figure out a way to do the sign thing because I think that'd be really cool. the bottle. So.
That would be awesome. We could keep it on set, so everybody would always see it. So
Yes, it'll be our first signed paraphernalia.
I love it. That'll be great.
Beautiful. Jesse, I can't thank you enough. We appreciate this greatly. This was super fun, and it did go long, but that's fine.
Thank you for doing it all, and going over long, and just this was awesome, man.
This was the best time we've had in a long time. So thank you.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that. I'm really happy to hear that. Thank you for having me. Anytime, seriously, you're like, hey, we found another bottle in New York. You want to talk about it real quick? Just shoot me an email or whatnot, and we'll set some time up, or text. You got my cell number. And we'll figure something out.
He said real quick. Some other time when you only want to do something
like 10 minutes. It's like an hour and a half.
I'm not celebrating a birthday because we had to talk for 4.5 hours about your mother.
Dorothy Mantooth is a saint. You leave my mother out of this.
Oh, man, that's great name, man. Nice. Anyway,
yeah, no, thank you so much, Jesse, for your time. We appreciate it, and thank you so much for everyone who's watching.
Yeah, thank you. We'll put it everywhere we possibly can. So
that'll be edited.
We can do that.
Yeah.
We'll figure something out.
Yeah.
Well, this is wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate it so much.
All right.
Thank you. So do we.